Okay, we're gonna kind of one last thing before we step into mastitis. We want to review what we need to do to achieve milking excellence, and that's going to kind of prep us for mastitis. So we're going to hear from Dr. Pam Rug in the University of Wisconsin. She is the expert on mastitis in this country. You need to check with her. Anything you see for her, we'll have some videos moving forward from her about mastitis and what needs to be done. This 10 smart things dairy farms do to achieve milking excellence is a Wisconsin report. It's a little dated. It's been around for a while, but it still provides a lot of good information, as most of whatever she puts out is. So it's got legs. It's held on. Still posted up on the University of Wisconsin. So here's the 12 or 10 things that she recommends we do. We're going to want to walk through them one at a time. Um, so we're trying to keep mastitis to a minimum, trying to produce good, clean milk at the end of it all. The first thing is we set our performance goals. So, what do we want for bulk tank somatic cell count, clinical mastitis, subclinical mastitis? We got to keep the antibiotic residues at zero. What do we want for our standard plate counts and all the other um, bacterial measures? So, we need to start there and then we can revise them as we go, but we need to at least give us a level that's going to force action. Is it going to be 100,000 somatic cell, 200, 300? How are we going to do that both on a bull tank level and an individual cow level? How are we going to react to mastitis? What are we trying to do to keep 85% of the herd clean in some way, shape, or form? What are our goals? Let's set the baseline that instructs us, hey, we're doing a good job. No, we're not doing a good job. We need to do something different. We need to identify problems quickly. So, rapidly identify problems. And this comes back to records more than anything else. Unless you're the person who's doing all the decisions and the milking, she notes that most people aren't doing that anymore. The people that are making the decisions, that are evaluating things, are not always the people that are milking. So we need good records to compare against our goals. And we need to do that regularly. So we need treatment records of who, for what, with what did they get, how long, what for, what type of mastitis, how do we rate that? We need to track the individual cases of mastitis. Do we have the same cows getting mastitis over and over again, or is it new cows all the time? Somatic cell, individual cow somatic cells would be great, at least once a month. But at least we need a bull tank test to make sure we know where we are, and then throw some CMTs in. We want to check reasons for leaving the herd, culling records, and what are the percent and number of cows leaving for mastitis. So, and then making sure we code things properly and really give some thought as to why did that cow leave the herd? What was the initial thing that put her on that slippery slope that sent her out the door? Two, keep the milk clean. We need milk clean cows. So cleaner cows are going to have lower somatic cell counts. Dirty cows, increased somatic cell counts. You can look in that paper. She shows some graphs there. Dirty cows show that there's a higher risk of problems because the cows are exposed to more. The more challenge we have, the more likely we are to have an infection, more likely we are to have problems. Four, we want to standardize the milking routine. So, as part of this previous paper, Professor Rug went and surveyed a number of different farms and found that most farms have different routines even within the milkers. So 338 farms, 27 different possible routines. 4 routines accounted for 63% of what was seen, or 63% of the farms. Seeing consultants or the people that took a look found that there were multiple routines on the same farm. This is a problem when cows like sameness, and timing of attachment needs to be the same. In order for those things to happen, we need consistent routines, everybody doing it the same way, everybody having the same timing. 5, train your staff. So, how many people have been trained to milk? Survey showed that 40% of the farms never trained milkers, just kind of pointed them in the right direction. They only trained the new people. They never reinforced or went back and talked to people. Hey, you still doing it the way we talked about? Hey, how about doing this new thing? So that's part of the inconsistencies that they were seeing. Most common training method is on the job experience, 50%, and imaging concern about quality that the farm projects will motivate and demotivate them. So if you care about it, your employees have the potential to care about it as well. But training, again, talking about the routine, figuring out what to do in whatever situation, and then milking staff. Most places come back and revisit things on a monthly basis or every other month basis. Maintain and update your milking systems. Got to make sure that your vacuum level is where it's supposed to be. Make sure all your parts are in good repair. Nothing needs to be replaced. Nothing's cracked. Make sure your automatic takeoffs are set where they need to be, and make sure that you change the oil and do your maintenance on your equipment, either the stuff you do on the farm or having people come in and do it for you. Make sure it's scheduled, make sure it gets done. If the milking system is working properly, good things happen, especially with regards to cows and mastitis. Consistency, consistency, consistency. 7, if we do get mastitis, what do we do about it? So we need to have treatment protocols in place. The valid client-patient relationship, working with your vet to decide, how do I handle these things? So how do I treat mastitis? What type of mastitis do you treat? Which ones do you not treat? Just milk out the animals, let them spontaneously recover. What type of mastitis the cow has? How do we treat? Dry cow treat? Do we dry cow treat? Do we keep treatment records? How do we mark treated cows? All of these questions, depending on how you answer them, will turn into protocols. This is what we do when this happens. This is what we do when this happens. This is how long we treat an animal if she's reacting this way, if she's got this type of mastitis, a 1 versus a 3. How do we do things? Are we testing? Where are we writing things down? How do we make sure that those treated animals do not get into the tank? So all parts of protocols, all the things that we need to ask as we develop those protocols. So have a mastitis biosecurity plan. So the study was done in the 90s that there's a whole lot of animals moving from farm to farm, and very few people check whether they have mastitis or not. So 2/3 of the herds didn't screen anything, didn't ask about somatic cell. We got the basic shipping fever, whatever, tuberculosis, and that's it. Um, Greater than 90 did not require a uh, milk culture. So, I mean, depending on the volume of animals you're buying, one would think a CMT paddle at a minimum would be helpful, certainly as they come in the door, but even better before they're purchased. Most cows have records on somatic cell. There's no reason you can't ask for that in advance to let you know what you're buying. So if you don't ask, you're going to get bit. So recommendations for biosecurity: buy your healthy cattle. So certainly younger pre-calving animals are at lower risk. Buy from a healthy herd. Look for animals that have low somatic cell. Keep those purchased animals healthy. Keep checking them, keep them separate, give them a little extra. If they've been shipped a long way, make sure they have an opportunity to recover before they're thrown into the mix. Culture on a regular basis to see what you got. Make sure you ask for mycoplasm, and if that shows up in your tank, um, sorry, man, that's ugly. Take care of your dry cows immediately at dry off and then just before calving are the two high risk times of mastitis. The udder is no longer being flushed out on a 8-hour basis or a 6-hour or 12-hour basis. So bacteria that get in the udder can thrive. Dry period, the teat canal is shorter, so there's less distance to travel. And immune systems get depressed around calving, so higher risk of infection, higher risk of disease. So bacterial infection is one of those. So take care of your dry cows. We want to provide good, clean stalls for calving. Isolate your sick cows from your fresh cows. Putting them all in one group can be a challenge. We want to make sure that we've got the nutrition right, especially the vitamin E levels associated with calving. Treat all quarters with approved dry cow treatment at dry off. That's a standard recommendation. People are starting to back off on that a little bit, depending on the opportunity to save money and still do a good job. Teat sealants are helpful. The vaccines for mastitis seem to be very beneficial. And then making sure we screen our animals as they come in to the next lactation. Contagious mastitis in particular, we don't want staph infections. We don't want strep ag infections. And make sure that if you don't understand something, you don't know, you make sure you make the phone call and make sure that you talk to the experts where you can. Remember, extension works for you. They shouldn't be charging you, at least in state. Um, Consulting fees, there are lots of experts out there. The idea behind hiring them is they're going to cost less money than what they generate for you. So making sure you ask, making sure you talk to people when you need help is a good habit to get into. I think that completes our set.